Hello jewelry making friends, my name is Joey Balestrieri. Welcome to my work table. I am having so much fun. Today I'm working with Didi's Deluxe bead box for the month of May. This is not a subscription box. It is like a first come, first serve limited edition box. She sells out every single month and May is already gone, but you can go on her website, also on her Facebook page, which I will link below if you're interested in trying to get the one for the month of June. And so my project today is a really stunning necklace and earring set, kind of minimalist chic. I'm really excited about it. In this little dish, I have pulled aside from the box all the little bits and pieces for an earring blast. I'm going to do a whole bunch of earrings, but I already did one set. I did the set that's going to coordinate with my necklace. So I'm going to show you what these look like. In this box, there were these beautiful square sunstone beads and these gorgeous agate beads, and then these gorgeous little they're half gold, half deep peach, I think was what they were called. And I just used some 22 gauge wire and made a little stack and a little simple loop, and those are going to be my earrings. And I have interchangeable lever back ear wires that are gold filled, so I don't need an ear wire every single time. I'll just put those on. But the reason I made these in advance is because I'm going to duplicate one of these earrings for a dangle on my necklace. So my plan here is to make a little curved bar using a few of these beads. I haven't worked out my pattern yet. I thought I might do that along with you. And then let me move everything up so you can clearly see. I'm going to do like on another piece of 20 gauge gold wire. I used 22 for this, but I'm going to use 20. You could even go up to 18 if you wanted to, but I kind of like the finer wire, just it's easier on my hands. And I think I'm going to do like an asymmetrical drop from a really pretty patterned bar. And then I decided to make my own beaded link chain, and I made like a little sample. I am using 1.5 inches of 20 gauge wire. I cut a whole bunch of them to start off with, just a whole bunch of 1.5 inch segments of 20 gauge wire, and I used my 2¼ millimeter one-step looper so that all of these loops are really consistent in size and look lovely. And then I hammered and textured each of those links, and then I used a bail making plier and made a whole bunch of jump rings, and I'm going to connect everything with jump rings. And then I just kind of designed a little component using the beads from the box. These are fabulous. Look how gorgeous these are gold plated he-she bead, or gold plated disc or he-she bead spacers, and they're hematite but gold plated. They are absolutely stunning. And this month's box, as with always, Stella, the founder of this company, she is amazing at adding in special beads and shapes and coordinating things. I mean, as I said, it's just so joyful to work. When you start with these ingredients, working is an absolute joy. And I got really excited and I realized I better stop and share before I get too far along in my project. So we can start by doing another one of these. So I do have my 2 pairs of earrings made, and if you'll notice, I like to mirror my earrings. You don't have to, but I kind of did alternations with my wire going up. So when you make earrings, it's always good to go ahead and make your second earring right away after you've made the first one, because you forget what you did otherwise. So I went ahead and did the earrings, but I'm going to take another piece of that 22 gauge gold wire, and I'm going to take another one of these beautiful little square soapstone beads. Aren't they pretty? Let me see. Each one is a little bit different. Let me pick one for my necklace. They're so pretty. I love all of them. I'll do this one. And so they have this beautiful dimensionality to them. There's a little like window box groove around the edge. And so what I did to start is just thread my wire through that hole. And there is a front and a back to these beads. The back is smooth and the front has that little bit of it's a really pillow or cushion like faceting. You can barely see it, but I don't know if the camera is showing you, but it's lovely. And all I did is like drop that down to the middle of this piece of wire, and then I'm just going to hug the sides of this gorgeous bead with this wire. Just look at how pretty it is on the side. I mean, look at my earring. It's just gorgeous from any vantage point. It's so lovely. And then I just took my pliers and I'm just like coaxing that wire together right down to the top of the bead and just pinch it together like that. So you have something that looks like that. And this 22 gauge wire is nice and soft and malleable, so you can really make easy adjustments. And then I'm going to do something similar to what I did on the earrings, which really is letting the wire be the statement. So I'm going to start here. You can hold it with your pliers. I think I kind of did it with my hands, but whatever works for you. I want to bend this wire down a little bit closer to the bead, and I'm just going to make some wraps. Let me switch hands. I wrap a little bit better with my right hand. I'm just going to make some wraps. I may decide to make the necklace pendant or drop a little bit more, have a little bit more. So if you can see, I've got a little separation between my coils, and I did on my earrings as well, but that's one of the nice things about working with this fine gauge wire. It's really easy to get it adjusted when you need to. And I like to have that little bit of, I like to see that little bit of negative space at the top of this bead. So on my earrings, I took, in fact, let me get my nylon jaw pliers just so that I don't damage my bead. I'm just going to like mold it a little bit to the sunstone bead. Just get it into place a little bit. I need to put some new replacement nylon on my pliers there. They have been well loved and well used and done a lot of work. Just tidy up that wire a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to keep this wire going straight up and this wire going out, and I'm just going to take one of the agate beads, just pick one. They're all so beautiful. They are such works of art. I just love these beads. And then I'm going to drop that down, and I'm going to bring the wire like up the side of the bead, and I'm going to go around the back. When I'm doing a project like this, I do kind of try to find like the natural path of the wire. And I'm just going to like bring it around and get a few wraps this way, about 3, I guess. And I'm going to just gently tighten up my coils. I'm using the bead as a little bit of leverage, but I'm being really careful not to put too much pressure on it. And let's see, I think I can get one more. I'm going to come around to the back, and now I'm going to go for one of these little beads for the top. So pretty. And then I'm going to come over the front of that bead with the wire and go around a few times, coil around a few times. That looks lovely. Just tighten up those coils a little bit. And I'm going to bring this wire just a little, just nudge it a little bit more to the front. That looks lovely. And then since this is going to be the drop to my necklace, it matches my earrings pretty well, and I did want it to match. Let's see. I think I'm going to go to the back with this and cut this away in the back. And I'm just going to make sure there's nothing sharp. And always take a moment to smooth and warm and straighten the wire. That looks great. And now I'm going to put a wrapped loop, and I just need to decide if I want the loop to be going like front to back, if I'm going to thread it right onto this bar, or if I want to do it the same way that I did my earrings, horizontal to my mat, and do that with a jump ring. And I usually a jump ring is better, but on this I kind of want it to be part of the bar. Let me see. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this loop front to back. So I'm going to get a hold of the top of my coils there and bend my wire that way. And then I'm going to, sorry for the noise, I have so many tools on my desk. And then I'm going to do a little bit larger loop here just because I want this to hang down a little bit. So I'm just going to come right about in the middle of my round nose pliers and wrap that wire over the top, rotate that other jaw out of my way, and then I like to roll this back and just get everything really centered before I remove the pliers, like that. And then I can finish wrapping, and what I'm going to do is wrap these coils. Let me tidy this up on this side. I'm going to wrap right down to the ones that are already there. Just wrap until they meet up so it looks like one continuous bit of wire. It's got a little bit of a contemporary, this is a very geometric because of the square beads and doing like a linear design where you know, where it goes, how can I say, like it's a linear design. So it has a little bit of geometry, which for me, I just love playing with geometry in jewelry design. The lines and the squares, and it's just wonderful. Get such interesting pieces. Now I'm just going to take a second, make sure that my little drop, everything is straight, everything is tucked. As I said, this is 22 gauge wire, so it is very nice to work with and easy on your hands. Little section right there. That is so beautiful, and it matches the earrings. And so now what I'm going to do is make my little focal point. It's going to be like one of my classic minimalist bar necklaces, but what I want to do is have, instead of this being straight, I'm going to do this one with a little bit of a curve. And so I'm going to continue through my whole piece using the 2 1/4 one-step looper. And it always wraps the loops outward, and I think that's what I do want to do. So I'm going to put this in just past the back jaw of the plier, because the one-step looper will make that nice blunt cut for you. So you can skip that step with your pliers. So if you can see, it's just a little bit past, and this tool will trim and give you a nice clean cut and wrap the wire around the mandrel. Just go slowly, and then once it is closed all the way, I'm just going to pull this wire down, and here's where you can do anything you want to do because you're holding on to it, and I can see that my loop is right centered on that wire. So when I take it away, I have perfection. And so now I'm going to create just a little pattern right here on this little bar, and I think I want to use not a lot of the gold, but a little bit of the gold. Let's see, let me just play for a little bit, maybe 3 beads, and then one of the little disc spacers. Let's see, let's do 3 disc and then 3 and see what it looks like. I definitely have more wire here than I will need, that's for sure, but that is kind of my habit. I cut a little extra wire because I really hate to run short and struggle at the end of a piece, or, you know, have to start over. And I also have a camera, but basically between my eyes and my hands. So I go ahead and cut a little bit of wire because I can't work off the spool really when I'm filming. Look how gorgeous that is. The only thing, I've ended up with 3 beads that are a little bit more white. I think I'm going to just leave it alone and let it be random. That is the beauty of this agate. It's just so lacy, and there's all kinds of movement and design within each bead, and I just love that. And then let's see. I want this to be an offset, an asymmetrical pendant, and I think what I might do is do the bead, the pendant, and then another bead, and then resume back to my 3. Let's see how that looks. This is one of the most joyful things about making jewelry is the pattern play. It is just so enjoyable. I could sit and do this for hours and hours. Well, in fact, I do sit and do it for hours and hours. Oh, that one's got a little imperfection. Let me get another one. And one more. Oh, I already love this. I already love this so much. So pretty. Oh, wow, look at that. I want this to be a little bit more offset. So I think I'm going to take it off and do another 3 beads and then do that and then put it. I don't want it to look like a mistake. I want it to look purposefully asymmetrical, and it was a little bit too close to the middle for my eye, so I'm just going to do what I did but move it down just a tiny bit. So I'll make my little smiley bar just a little bit wider, but I think it will be better that way. Let's do it and then have a look. I'll lay it on the mat as soon as I have it strung. And then another one of these, and then my last 3 beads, and we'll see how that looks. I think I'm gonna like that better. They are so, these agate beads are so interesting. Each one is its own little color story. Oh, look at that. That is so stunning. And if it hangs like that, let me see, let me lay it on the mat so we can look at it. That is so pretty, but now I feel like it's too long. So let's see, if I take off, if I do 2 on each end, so I'm gonna restring this again. I don't want it quite that long. I'm gonna do it exactly the same, but I'm just going to remove this end bead. So do this really quickly. Much better. Isn't that pretty? That is so elegant and so unique. Okay, so now I am just going to turn this way because my one-step looper puts the loops in that direction, and I'm just going to feed my wire through the back of the tool, and I'm going to just gently close it so that I can see where everything is. And I want to back this off just a little bit, like a millimeter or so that I'm not putting any pressure on my beads or pushing anything out of whack. And then I'm just going to slowly close this tool. It makes that nice little cut, and right there I'm going to pull my beads back so that loop is centered on my little wire, and there's the cut piece. And then when I remove it, I can straighten up anything that needs to be straightened up, close the loop a bit if it needed it. This time it did. And I also like to open and close my pliers. And at this point, like, I can hand sculpt this little focal section of my necklace. Just do that little hand sculpting and get it to look exactly the way I want. I love this. If it weren't for the little bit of cushion faceting, this would really be two-sided, and it could be. This is the little faceting on the bead is very subtle, but I know it's there and I think it's beautiful. So I'm just going to bend this a tiny bit more, and after I have my chain, I may make some more adjustments, bend this outer up, do a little bit more hand sculpting. But there is my bar for my necklace, and now I am going to show you how I made this chain, and I'll get this all done. It's very repetitive. I'll get it done off camera. As I said, I took my 20 gauge wire and I just cut a whole bunch of 1.5 inch lengths of the wire, and I use the one-step looper, and I'm going to do this couple with you to show you how fast this is. I don't put this tool down when I have a whole bunch of lengths to make, and it really saves my hand from an arthritis flare-up because I'm not doing that constant twisting that we do when we make these loops. So what I did is the same thing you just saw me do, is take that little 1.5 inch piece of wire and put it in so it's just past the back jaw of the plier, and I don't have to use my cutters to give myself a clean blunt cut on the wire. This tool does that for me, and then I just bend it down, and this is a little bit crooked, so this is the one thing I will do, is take my nylon jaw pliers, since this is part of my chain and it's kind of a bar component, is make sure that it's nice and straight. And then I just swing the tool. I don't put it down since I have a lot of these to make. I just keep it in my hand and swing it out of the way and turn my wire in the other direction and repeat the same thing. Put the end of the wire just past the back jaw, gently close it. It makes that tiny little cut for me. Close it and pull it down. And at this point, like, if this were going to be finished, I would take my other pliers and like straighten this out and all, but I'm going to put all of these components on my bench block and hammer them. So like that one didn't close all the way, and I'm not going to waste any time on it. I'm still holding onto my tool, and I'm just going to keep going and make as many as I think I will need, at least to start off with. And like, if I feel like my wire is not straight enough, that's the one thing I will take the time to do. And I just keep that tool in my hand, swing it out of the way, and come back and get my loop on the other end. And I can make all kinds of handmade artisan chain this way without having pain in my hand, and all of my loops are exactly the same size. It takes away that sort of oddness, because, you know, like, at least for me, I'm not always consistent when I make simple loops one after the other. And so I don't have to do anything to these as far as adjusting, because I'm going to hammer them and texture them the way that you see in my chain. I put like a little diamond texturing, and I hammered these links flat. I just think it looks artisan and really organic and lovely. Now, if you don't have a bench block and a hammer, or you don't like this look and you want to keep the wire all round and shiny like the components and the jump rings, that is totally fine. Just if that's what you're opting for, then at this point you would take your pliers and tidy everything up. So like this one, you know, it didn't close all the way. So I'm going to just move these out of the way, and this is the tiny, you almost have no waste with that tool, because this is the tiny little blunt cuts that it makes to give you a nice clean loop. And so I'm going to move this out of the way, and just for those of you who would like to see how this is done, this is my bench block. It's really heavy and it's really small. I always have it just to the right of my work table, and I have been using my ball peen hammer for this only this side. I flattened both sides of each length of my chain with this, and then I've been using this edge to give it that sliced look, that kind of diamond look. But if you like the classic hammered or dented look, you can go for the ball peen side. And as I said, you don't have to do this at all. You can just leave the wire nice and round and shiny the way that it is. So if you think that pounding is going to bother you, fast forward or turn your volume down, because I'm just going to show everybody how quick and easy this is. I just started right there, and you'll see why I didn't spend any time straightening out my loops, because everything spreads out and becomes misshapen when you hammer. So I'm going to have to go back with my pliers and fix each one of these a little bit anyway. And I just get it until it's nice and flat. And then I'm just taking the edge, like this edge, and I'm going down and just adding some dents. It's like little slices. It kind of looks like the diamond cutting that makes gold sparkle when they do those little cuts. And then just make sure you do both sides, because it's a chain. It will move around, and then that way it looks complete and finished on both sides. So it doesn't take much, and I'll sit and do all of my hammering at one time. And then can you see what happens to it? Like, it has this beautiful texture, but you know, everything's out of shape. So that's where I'll come back and just use my pliers to put it back in shape. Just close it. It has to be, you know, it's a chain and it's going to be connected to other things. So it has to be closed really well. It is work hardened. And so I'll just check to make sure everything is smooth. There's nothing that's going to grab onto my clothing. And that is all I do. And this is like so simple. So if you don't have a lot of chain to work with, or if you just don't like what you have for a piece, like that is one of my links. And then I am simply coming to this end with one of my jump rings that I made, and just going to open that jump ring and add this link right on. And whoops, I dropped it. This part is so exciting because I can see my design unfolding. I need to slow down. I get excited when I'm making jewelry. This creative time is the most wonderful. I highly recommend it. I highly encourage people to try to discover their creative side, and jewelry art is the best. So that's what I did, is just created this chain with my handmade jump rings and my handmade links and these little components, also the 2¼ millimeter one-step looper. And I chose that. There are 3 sizes of the looper. There is one that's 3 millimeter, and it makes a really large loop, and that works great for chain as well. But the 2¼ makes the chain really fluid and really movable, and it doesn't get kinked up or stuck. And I just like it, you know, I just really like it. So when I get my length all done, I will come back and we will attach this beautiful chain to this little component that we made, and that set will be done. So I am just going to pause and continue making my chain just as I just showed you, and when I come back we'll finish this up together and I'll show you what clasp I've chosen. I have finished making all of my links. I have this last one to connect, but I did decide to go back to my chain design and do double jump rings where everything is connecting. So it doesn't really add any strength. I guess it does a little bit because it's a pretty delicate piece, but I don't know if you can see the difference between the side that's not done and the side that's done. It just adds a little bit of something extra to the chain. It's a very artisan, sort of a contemporary lines, very minimalist, but in the most up-to-date, like spot-on trend colors. So I just love it. But I do need to make some more jump rings, and so I thought for newer people that maybe you might like to see how this is done. It is super easy. I'm using this bail making plier, And I love doing this because my jump rings will be out of the same wire that everything else is out of, so everything matches. It does have an anti-tarnish coating, and you know, I just really love doing this, and I get really good jump rings this way too. So I'm just going to place the wire in between, and I just like push it against my finger. Let me change my hand position a bit. I just push the wire against my finger and start that coiling motion. Just keep coiling the entire length of a little piece of wire. Sometimes I even use my scrap wire to make jump rings, and I keep them in a little tiny Ziploc bag in with the wire that they are made out of. So instead of in with my little jump rings findings storage, that way if I'm working with this wire and I need jump rings, I can use the exact same color and, you know, material, and I know what it is. And it is just this simple, is just get your length of wire coiled. I try to go all the way to the end. I don't know if I'm just trying to use the plier to get that last little coil down. And then I'm just going to remove it and take really nice sharp cutters on the flush side, this flush side, and right where I started to coil, I'm just going to snip a straight line up the middle, the entire length of this coil. And it just gives you perfect little jump rings. Can choose your own size, choose whatever wire. Love doing this. I do it in a lot of my projects. I make my own jump rings. It's best to cut one ring at a time, although sometimes on smaller size jump rings your cutter will grab two, but I don't try to cut two. I do try to just snip one at a time. And get this last one. And I just have a tiny little piece of wire that's waste, and I'm ready to connect some more. So I'm just going to continue opening. And adding in my components. And since this is a handmade artisan chain, I really like relax when I'm doing this. It's very repetitive, but that's totally okay with me. I just make sure everything is truly closed and connected beautifully. I love, love, love the way this piece turned out. It's so beautiful. I love the double jump ring architecture. I love the delicacy of this chain and the pattern play with these very on-trend beads and colors. And I happen to have 2 jump rings left. I have chosen a magnetic clasp, and oddly enough, I don't know if it's the anti-tarnish coating or what it is, but these magnetic clasps do not grab onto this wire. So when I'm making my own chain, I like to reach for a magnetic clasp because they are just so easy to take on and off. They are just so easy to take on and off. They will grab onto your pliers, but they do not grab onto this wire when I make my chain out of it. So it's just a detail, but a magnetic clasp sticking constantly to the chain that I've worked with will drive me crazy. And all those details make jewelry quality and comfortable and wearable. Okay, this beautiful, beautiful piece is done. This is so chic and so beautiful. And I also have my gold-filled interchangeable ear wires here. I keep these on in my jewelry wardrobe. I have a couple of pairs, and so my beautiful little coordinating earrings are also ready to be worn. I literally cannot wait to wear this set. Oops, that one's backwards. Have a little dyslexia going on here. Look how stunning this little set is. How beautiful. Artisan, handmade, and really elegant. So I will put some pictures at the end of the video as always, and I will also put links in the description box to Didi's Bead website. If you are on Facebook, I'll put the link to her Facebook group as well, so that you can get notifications and information when the next box becomes available. This was May's box. It's stunning. It's always stunning. I don't know what June looks like, so it's a bit of a surprise, but I guarantee you it will be fabulous. Stella, the founder of the company, is amazing at putting unusual shapes, quality beads, and a beautiful curated selection. Really great value in her box. So if you're interested in trying to get June's box, I'll link all that below in the description box. And I just want to say thanks for choosing my video today, and I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. Stella and I have decided to collaborate on a designer bead box that will be exclusive, a very limited edition. We expect not to have a lot left over, if any. So we will keep you posted about when we have our first designer exclusive box ready to offer to everyone. And thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, jewelry making friends.